It is urgent that you are sheltered if you live in Jacksonville, if you're on the campus of Jacksonville State University.
And I want to show you what they've been looking at. This is a metal warehouse that was just next to the campus. You see this? This is steel that was blown over, not just blown over, but bent.
You can see just how high those flames were shooting up into the air. Now at this point, one injury is reported. A firefighter has been injured trying to battle this blaze. They were taken to the hospital, but at this point we do not know the extent of their injuries.
But right now, look at your screen right here. We start with the rescue of a 4-year-old girl, Heidi Todd.
But again, you're looking at more evacuees coming off that boat right now.
Him in, he's not having it. He gets the pedal down and he's out of there.
2 injured, 1 dead in the shooting at the Hoover Galleria.
I'd never seen anything like it. Everyone was just yelling to run.
Look at the actual eye wall coming on shore right here. Wow.
That's the storm surge we were talking about.
You're looking at a roof being blown off right there as a storm chaser was recording that brutal blow. That is.
Roads that once looked like this are now drivable.
We thank ABC 3340 for working for us because it's made a difference and we're actually able to drive our roads now.
Cynthia Gould with our 2-month investigation.
This is Mike Jones running from our camera outside the Shelby County Courthouse in late October. We tried repeatedly to reach Jones about these unpaid bills with a visit to his office in Pelham.
Hello?
A Jefferson County grand jury indicted a former Cooper Green administrator for possession of child pornography. Mark Sussman retired from his job during an ABC 3340 News I-Team investigation. I-Team investigator Brian Pia broke the original story.
He retired from his $92,500 a year job about 2 weeks ago. That's after we started asking questions about why he remained on the job for so long. He avoided our questions by bolting out of the courtroom and down a stairway. 3 months ago, a grand jury indicted Sussman on 6 counts of possession of child pornography. Fired St. Clair Prison Assistant Warden Cedric Specs is accused of improper use of a state cell phone and state car, among other violations. In this exclusive interview, Specs made surprising admissions.
I admitted to everything I did wrong.
You may have a couple just topless, stuff of that nature.
Specs admitted that he stored the explicit photos on an app on his state cell phone. The photo storage app was disguised as a calculator.
The maximum penalty is 2 to 20 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Does that scare you?
Well, I tell you what, it doesn't necessarily scare me because if it comes to that, and of course I take all legal action that I have to, there'll be a lot of people doing 2 to 20 years.
State Personnel Board upheld the firing of a St. Clair prison assistant warden. Cedric Specs was accused of having sexual relationships with prison workers and using his state cell phone to sext with them. Landowners reaching out to the ABC 3340 I-Team after they say a company cut thousands of dollars worth of timber from their land and didn't pay for it. The I-Team's Cynthia Gould first broke this story on sexual harassment allegations against lawyer Randy Hames earlier this year. Cynthia, is Hames still practicing law?
Chris, no, the Alabama bar suspended his license in March, we have learned. These cases center around a trailer park and marina that Hames owns and manages in Coleman.
Oh, there's a lot I'd love to say because he's a sick man.
We originally spoke with 3 former tenants who claimed they were harassed. Hames was indicted on criminal charges in May. That included human trafficking and solicitation of prostitution.
Millions of your tax dollars going to pay massive amounts of overtime for Alabama employees. And a few state employees are really raking it in.
In an exclusive I-Team report, we uncovered one corrections department worker making almost as much as the governor because of his overtime.
ABC 3340 I-Team investigator Brian Pia joins us now. And Brian, we're talking about a worker whose base salary is around $40,000 a year.
That's right, Chris. That corrections officer's base pay was a little over $38,000 last year, but he scored a 6-figure paycheck for years. He tops all state employees, all of them, for overtime pay.
And this is video of Tompkins' Facebook page before he took it down during our investigation. Take a close look at the comments on his page. People call him by the nickname Big Money. That includes Carl Sanders, now a retired captain who worked at the St. Clair prison. Sanders is the same person who signed one of Tompkins' performance appraisals. Last year, Tompkins made almost as much as Alabama Governor Kay Ivey.
They need to quickly cut back on this overtime, which is costing the taxpayers at 1.5 times the normal rate.
So, Brian, I understand Bob Horton, the public information manager for the Corrections Department, didn't like you interviewing their chief of staff.
That is right. And Horton called me an unethical reporter for interviewing Chief of Staff Steve Brown about the overtime issue following that graduation ceremony. Keep in mind that Brown is a public official. He agreed to be interviewed about the overtime topic. Meantime, Horton says I'm now banned from all Department of Corrections property, but I can assure you we're going to stay on top of the story, and there is much more to come.
You talked about how unique Oliver is in terms of elected officials who have charges. What is that uniqueness?
That he quickly and humbly admitted his crimes. As I mentioned, most public or elected officials who we've prosecuted or have been prosecuted around the state challenge their crimes and go to a jury and are convicted. But Oliver Robinson had admitted his.
And I was given exclusive access inside the U.S. Navy. And in my series, Alabama the Brave, tonight we go into the water for survival swim lessons. But right now, look at your screen right here. We start with the rescue of a 4-year-old girl. Heidi Todd was carried out of the Riverside Fire Station tonight by the first responders who rescued her.
Now, the little girl was taken from her South Carolina home last night during a home invasion. An alert railroad crew in St. Clair County spotted an unusual car and said something.
Let's watch this video together. You're going to see this motorcyclist right here. The man ended up getting away during this chase on I-65 North as it comes right at you. As they try and box him in, he's not having it. He gets the pedal down and he's out of there. The chase that, according to authorities, reached more than 100 miles per hour. You can see he was weaving right in and out of traffic. Extremely dangerous. Law enforcement still looking for them. If you happen to know who that person is or recognize that bike, you need to call law enforcement immediately.
It's a gun. And I didn't believe it until the teacher came out and said, run, it's a gun.
The first calls come in around 3:30. Shots fired with 2 down.
50 Springville Road at Huffman High School. Medical aid on a gunshot wound. Report that there are 2 patients at this location.
2 teens, 1 male, 1 female, both rushed to the hospital.
The sound of sirens would replace the dismissal bell, and when it was over, a young woman wouldn't be coming home.
It's really, really important that we just take the time to realize a life was lost.
From parents to police officers, there are many questions tonight after a high schooler is killed on campus. Classes at Huffman High School have been canceled for tomorrow. I'm Christopher Sine.
And I'm Brenda LeDunn. We've learned the male student who was injured has now been released from the hospital, and we have confirmed he is being interviewed by detectives right now.
And tonight we have live team coverage for you from the hospital to the scene to the community as well.
Let's start with ABC 3340's Andrew Donnelly, who walks us through what exactly happened. And Andrew, where on campus did this happen?
Well, Brenda, I spoke with officers about an hour ago. They tell me they still don't really know where this happened, although they know it happened inside. A lot of questions surrounding this school shooting. Here are a few of those answers about what happened here today.
My colleague Ariel Clay is on the scene here. She's on the ground on 7th Avenue South. We're going to toss it over to her with resident reaction. Ariel.
And you can just imagine that a fire as intense and massive as the one that these firefighters have been dealing with would only force evacuations for the buildings in this area. That was the case for the Metropolitan Apartments, just 2 buildings away from where this fire started. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what we're seeing from here on the ground. Now, we know that about 30 residents living inside of the Metropolitan Apartments had to be evacuated. And they were evacuated at around 12:30, and for 3 hours they sat outside watching as fire crews battled those flames that were spreading so close to their own homes.
I'm standing right outside of what is Tri-County DA Greg Grigger's office, and I'm standing in front of what appears to be his SUV. I'm going to step out of the frame so that you can get a closer look at what's going on here. Now, Grigger serves Greene, Sumter, and Marengo counties. We're learning he was shot in the face by a former state trooper, according to Tri-County DA Michael Jackson.
You're looking at live images right now of the Galleria, where there is a large police presence there. Those reports, as we mentioned, coming within the last 30 minutes. And right now we want to go to Ryan Spann, who is on the phone with us. Ryan was inside the Galleria when the commotion started. Ryan, if you could tell us what it was you heard when you were inside.
Yeah, well, me and a couple of friends we were down by the Sears on that end of the mall, and I thought I heard some loud noises.
Watching Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.
Everyone was just yelling to run.
Our youngest son was in the mall at the time.
We heard some, really, disturbing screams from people who had obviously seen something, and they were sprinting. It seemed like they were running for their lives.
And I just heard a couple of shots. Then afterwards, I just saw this avalanche full of people.
And I looked behind me, and she was gone.
Screaming, running, and looking for folks. Screaming, running, and looking for folks. I saw some folks hiding.
And everybody screamed and freaked out. They pushed us in supply closets in Mountain High.
I called my mom, and I just told her, I was like, look, there's nowhere for us to go. Everybody's hiding underneath clothes.
It was very tense. It was silent. Total fear, confusion, everything.
The door's open right here. This is to one of the many shelters here in this portion of Coleman County that are now open. This one in particular here, right near Sportsman's Lake Park, able to hold about 400 people. They've got this door open, and this is literally where people would rush in the event that there was severe weather, particularly a tornado. Right now, just a precaution, again, not trying to make anyone nervous, but there's certainly something that they're prepared for. This all happened once that tornado watch was issued for this area. You see Coleman Police here right now, and we actually have, Chris, if we can pan over, one group right here. They're waiting just in case. They came all the way out here. They've got their car ready. These people right here, though, they were able to get in here in their cars over this overhang here at Grace Chapel, and were able to avoid having their cars damaged. I'm joined by these two right here, and I didn't even introduce myself earlier. I'm Steven, but it's nice seeing y'all. Tell us real quick what it was like when you were out here as that hail, the ones we just showed, started to fall.
Well, it started hailing real small, and then it kept getting bigger. And we pulled under here, and the truck started rocking, and it was just a bad storm. But
This is what the hail did to some of the windshields. And take a look at this car over here next to me. You can see significant damage not only on the windshield, but also you can see just the amount of dents on the hood of this car.
And this has been the main culprit, has been hail, still hours after it fell here. And the damage is really not here on the side. It came from above to the roof here of the Coleman County Jail. But if you take a look inside, you'll see exactly the extent of that damage as it literally went through the insulation of the roof here, causing some damage. We did get a chance to speak to Sheriff Matt Gentry.
In front of me, a red Dodge truck that has been flipped over in the parking lot. The apartments themselves missing walls, windows, and roofs.
Storm that lasted only a few seconds destroyed everything.
Open the door. Pull the door out of hand. I run out the closet.
Now, ABC 3340 News at 4.
The destruction, the damage, and the quick decisions that may have saved lives.
We're in the basement, we were hiding. And
Tornado terror.
Apparently there was a second one, maybe a third one.
Taking shelter as roofs peel away like wallpaper.
The doors kept opening and closing.
I mean, anywhere you look, there's metal and just insulation, all kinds of stuff.
From the hail damage to the flooding to the tornado aftermath, Alabamians endure a scary night and thankful at first light.
We're going to take this one day at a time. It happens, I hate it, but I'm just glad nobody got hurt.
And we can tell you right now that an EF3 tornado left a path of destruction in Calhoun County. You are looking live right now at the ABC 3340 Sky View at the mess in Jacksonville as residents now must clean up. Good afternoon to you. I'm Christopher Sine. The Weather Authority has crews spread out across portions of Alabama getting a first-hand look at the damage. My colleague Pam Huff is anchoring our coverage from Jacksonville along with Alabama's Chief Meteorologist James Spann. That's where we will also find ABC 3340's Lauren Walsh. Cynthia Gould is in Riddles Bend in Etowah County, and Elizabeth Lane is checking in on storm recovery in Coleman County. First, though, we turn to ABC 3340's Pam Huff and Chief Meteorologist James Spann. Pam and James.
I want to get James's first reaction here to what we are seeing. EF3, you have no problem with accepting that with a damage scene.
Right. And the way these surveys work, Pam, the Weather Service works down the entire path of the tornado. And they're going to have an initial estimate based on the first thing they see. And the first thing they saw this morning was damage consistent with an EF2. Based on what happened about 30 minutes ago and some of the damage they saw near campus, they went to an EF3. And I think that's the right thing to do. Looking at the drone video from the drone we put up here this morning,
yes,
I think most of the damage that you see through some of the campus here is consistent with an EF3.
We interrupt this program for a special report from ABC 3340 News.
I'm Christopher Sign, live in the ABC 3340 newsroom. We continue to follow the breaking news of an active shooter situation at UAB Highlands Hospital. Our live images coming in right now to the newsroom. As you see this, Birmingham police are confirming that there so far 2 people have been shot. The suspect is down. A very active scene. Andrew Donnelly just got on the scene there. Andrew, are you connected? Can you hear me right now? As you look live here from our sky camera, the scene is going to be on the left-hand portion of your screen right there. That's going to be the downtown area. It's going to be the south end of the UAB campus.
I did want to show you, you're seeing 1, 2, 3 different layers of crime scene tape here. And we saw the entrance. We see the front lobby earlier. You can see there's another entry point, and that is where they've been staging.
ABC 3340 News starts now with live breaking news.
Radio to all South units, UAB Howard has active shooting inside the hospital.
Shots fired inside a downtown Birmingham hospital.
Active shooter.
Officers race to the scene.
People inside hide.
We have 2 down.
With guns drawn, officers evacuate the wounded.
I need medics on the 2nd floor. I have 1 person still breathing.
Earlier today, there was a sense of calm that was throughout this area of Gulf Shores, despite the fact that thousands are now without power. Many, in fact, were on this very beach that's almost difficult to stand on now.
These are images from inside our sister station, WCTI in New Bern, North Carolina. The staff there was forced to evacuate during the height of the storm as floodwaters swept right into the building. You see that there. And this week, ABC 3340 is stepping up to help our broadcast brothers and sisters in need in eastern North Carolina.
ABC 3340's Lauren Walsh just arrived in the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina to help the WCTI team recover.
That's the eye. Panama City is right here. Panama City Beach is right here. Port St. Joe, Cape Sandblast is right here. This is Mexico Beach. This thing came in right about here. Again, Mexico Beach, Panama City Beach, Tyndall Air Force Base. The center, the eye came right over the Air Force Base. There was a point where they could just look up and they could see blue sky. There was no wind at all.
Power outages from this hurricane were expected to be very long and widespread, and those who do not have power, they're asked to be patient as crews work to restore their services, which could take some time.
New information on the secret meeting on the tarmac between former President Bill Clinton and Attorney General Loretta Lynch.
It happened exactly 2 years ago and had a significant effect on the public's perception of the Hillary Clinton email scandal and the election. Both called it a chance encounter, but tonight we're learning it may have been set up through their security teams. I broke the original story, and tonight, new revelations in this ABC 3340 exclusive.
Now, ABC 3340 News at 4.
It is my honor and privilege to announce that Toyota and Mazda have chosen Alabama as the home of their new production plant.
Alabama wins a coveted car manufacturing plant that will bring 4,000 new jobs. It is a big plant and it is a big deal for the state. A good afternoon to you. I'm Christopher Sign. My colleague Pam Huff right there anchoring our coverage from Montgomery regarding the Toyota Mazda plant and this announcement here. We have team coverage for you as well, covering every angle. ABC 3340's Lauren Walsh is in Montgomery as well, breaking down the details of the deal. Stephen Quinn is going to join us momentarily from Huntsville, where the plant will be built. And Elizabeth Lane is in Tuscaloosa County, the home of Alabama's first auto plant. But first, let's go live right now to Pam Huff anchoring the coverage for us in Montgomery. Pam, good afternoon to you. I believe it is safe to say that this is a game changer for Alabama.
It is transformational for the state of Alabama, Chris. You are absolutely correct. This project has a name that probably summarizes that. It's called Project New World. That's the Secretary of Commerce, Greg Canfield. Welcome and congratulations, first of all. This is a really big deal.
Pam, it's a big deal. I mean, 4,000 new jobs, sort of the capstone to the automotive sector. We've got 3 OEMs that are building vehicles in Alabama today. This brings 5 that will have 4 operating facilities building cars in Alabama.
And with the stroke of a bow, these stories are revealed in the faces of men who are fighting to remember. Feinstein has collected about 70 violins from families of Holocaust survivors.
The sky is more than just the limits, it's nothing impossible.
It's just so unique to encounter someone like him of his age. When you see things like Be Like Walter, wish there were more Walters in the world, he's so deserving of all of this.
They were telling me there's nothing else we can do.
They told her that I had a 4% chance to live.
I prayed. I stood there for 2 hours by his bed praying.
I had ran out of things to do, basically. The nurse called me with a set of blood gases that were worse than they had been. I said, well, I'm not sure what else to do. And she said, well, we're not going to let him die, so you need to think of something.
That turning point, making believers out of his doctors, who say there's no science that could explain it.
I would be like throwing up and, sad, watching TV, or watching sports. So when a player came and visited me, I'd be like, they were bigger than life.
A miracle turned new mission.
I just kind of thought about more than 4, helping kids with cancer, fight, not just raising money, but help them fight.
So he got 50 breakfast sandwiches.
You take your family out to dinner, and you can drop $50 going out to dinner. And so it was nothing more than taking my family out to dinner. And so when it came down to a financial side, it was just second nature. I really didn't think about it. I just thought, hey, this would be neat. I bet they'll like this.
I was just so surprised that he did that. I didn't think he was going to do it.
Hey, let's go, baby! Alabama didn't hold back. After 12 months and 14 games, it earned the right to let loose.
The finish that we didn't have last year, it came out. This is what we envisioned when you hear the word finish.
Where the Tide players are just hours away from the biggest game of many of their lives.
That's exactly right, Pam and Brenda. But the Tide has played big games before this year, and they've had big wins, including over Oklahoma and Rhode Island, 2 teams that played earlier today here in Pittsburgh. But they're underdogs against Virginia Tech, who has 21 wins and is from the mighty ACC.
And where in the world is Jeff Spiegel? The answer to that question is Homewood, where the Patriots are playing Chelsea in the Friday Night Rivals game of the week. And Jeff, Blitz game day is just minutes away.
That's right, Jamie. Blitz Game Day coming up at 6:30 sharp on our sister station, My 68, followed by the game of the week. And the Homewood Patriots are on a collision course with Jackson Olin in a possible region title game. Welcome back to Fort Lauderdale, everybody. Earlier today, coaches Saban and Riley met the media one more time before they match wits tomorrow night. And in these playoff games, coaches go deep into the playbook, like the Tides went over Clemson last year when D lineman Deron Payne caught a touchdown pass.